Council, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And the first item on our agenda is a discussion of the 32-acre development announcement. And if you can unmute Lori, the floor is all hers.
Thank you so much. I'm very appreciative for the opportunity to come together this evening. We're very excited about the 32-acre project. I know it has been, for those of us who have been here a long time, and for those of you who are perhaps original owners in, University Glen Phase 1, we've talked about, Phase 2, 32 acres for a long time. And, the recession in 2008, 2009 certainly took us kind of out of the reality of being able to build it as a university. And in 2017, we started up again with a partnership with Kennedy Wilson Multifamily, and went through that whole process. So if you've been here since then, you're probably familiar with, there were a number of meetings and the environmental impact report and CEQA and approval by the Board of Trustees down at the CSU, as well as the Site Authority Board. And you might be asking, wow, 2017 was a long time ago, but COVID and a number of other things just have a way of, putting some blocks up in front of us. And here we are now, October 2021. So I am going to be able to offer to introduce Sean O'Brien from Kennedy Wilson Multifamily. He'll be sharing a presentation and just kind of an overview, high-level overview. And what I want to share is this really is our first conversation, right? First conversation now that we are ready to go. So we've been having the conversation, we've been giving updates, but it's just one of many conversations that we'll have. And, communication I know is key. And I'll talk a little bit about that towards the end, different ways that we can continue to communicate and how we'll be communicating with the community. And we'll go from there. So if I'd like to introduce Sean O'Brien, Kennedy Wilson Multifamily. And Sean, I believe you'll be sharing your screen for the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Lori. Appreciate the introduction. I'm Sean O'Brien with Kennedy Wilson. I'm representing the construction team in this meeting for this project. As Lori mentioned, it's been a long time coming. We've been working on this project since 2016 with approvals in 2017. And here we are today, planning on starting construction of the project here within the next 2 or so weeks. So let me share my screen real quick.
Can I ask a question before you start?
Sure, go ahead.
Which part of Kennedy Wilson are you with?
With the construction and multifamily team.
Okay, is that part of Kennedy Wilson?
Multifamily.
Multifamily, like, so Ben Gordon?
Ben Gordon, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he is a team member on the multifamily team, but he's not involved with this
The youth lab
construction
meeting is
project.
going on in your face right now if you're gonna watch them.
Yeah, I just thought Kennedy Wilson had a whole different development part of the organization. So I'll keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, that's correct. We do. So the development team has been working on this project for the last 4 years, and now that it's a construction project, the construction team kind of takes over. Would everybody else on the call please mute yourself? I'm getting some feedback here. Thank you very much.
And if I may, Sean, real quick, Jake, if you could go in, you can actually just mute all participants for the moment during the presentation, then we can unmute, because I'm not sure that everyone realizes they're not on mute. Thank you.
So the University Glen Phase 2 project, we'll get into the approvals, but this is just a rendering. It basically consists of apartments, both market rate, similar to what exists in the phase 1 community. There's a age and income restricted apartment community as part of the phase 2 project that will be built. That is 170 units. And then there's a combination of for sale single family homes and townhomes. And currently up to 120 are approved to be built for a total count of 600 units. Only 109 are currently planned to be built at this moment. Generally, here's the site plan of the project, which was included in the EIR, but everybody's generally familiar with the site. Here's Channel Islands Drive heading into the phase 1 community, and there'll be apartment buildings in 10 and 16 unit complexes kind of located around the center of the community. This large building here is the age and income restricted apartments, and it's all flanked by a combination of single family homes and townhomes around the top or north and west sides of the project. Here's just a few more renderings of the project. All the design is fashioned off what you see in the phase 1 community. We wanted it to look cohesive in the, call it Spanish or Montecito style. Tile roofs, stucco, recessed windows. Here's a couple renderings of the market rate apartments. The phase 2 amenity center and leasing center, and the single family homes, combination of attached product townhomes in 3 and 4 unit buildings, and then standalone single family homes, also 2-story. Just a quick recap on the approvals of this project. The draft EIR was released back in February of 2017. Comments were incorporated from the community and from stakeholders. In May 2017, the final EIR was released. And then in July, the Board of Trustees for the State University System approved the project and certified the final EIR. With the certification of the final EIR, a notice of determination was filed, and that starts the 30-day clock for any legal challenges to the EIR. And so on August 7th, the CSU Site Authority amended the Community Development Area Specific Reuse Plan. And on August 19th, the 30-day period closed for legal challenges. There's been a few questions about where to find the documents related to the EIR, the draft EIR, the final EIR. They're all online at csuci.edu/CI2025. It's the CI 2025 website. There's a tab or a page called the Vision Plan on the right side of the page, and that has all the vision plan and planning documents. So the final EIR is further down the page under other planning documents, and it's the first item. With that, I think we can just proceed to the Q&A part of this meeting. We'll do Q&A here for about 15 minutes and then continue on with the rest of the agenda.
And Jake, do you want to do hand raising? I do know that some questions were received in advance. So however you would like to do that, or we can just have folks raise their hand, we can call on them and go from there. What would you prefer?
Jake's not here.
I see one raised hand.
Here, how about, let me suggest this, Lori.
that's
There's been a
CJ.
few questions that have come in via email prior to this meeting. So why don't I just start with answering those questions, and then if there are any further questions,
It sounds good, Sean.
We
And
can
would
do the
you
hand
mind stopping your screen share, and then we can see?
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. We can see the gallery and people can see. Perfect. Thank you.
great. So the first question that we received was, what are the major milestones for the project? As I mentioned, construction here is planning on starting within the next 2 or so weeks. Everything's being finalized for groundbreaking, and we'll have a better idea here with a few more days. Generally, there's approximately 9 months of site work, including demolishing the site and constructing new roadways and underground utilities. And then there will be kind of 3 simultaneous projects going on, anywhere from 18 to 24 months in length. And those will be the senior and the market rate and the single family homes. Second question was, what impact with regard to traffic flow and parking can we expect in the next few months? It will vary throughout the construction process. Obviously, there will be a lot more heavy equipment in the beginning of the project, which may require big tractor trailers driving in and dropping off equipment and leaving. All of the construction traffic will be directed through the first roundabout as you're entering the University Glen community. So there won't be any kind of construction traffic driving through the existing phase 1 community. We're going to keep it all from Camarillo Road into the project site. If traffic flow will be impacted, will a temporary evacuation plan be necessary during construction? We won't be having any trucks or construction traffic stopping or parking or inhibiting traffic flow into the community, just like normal cars drive in and out of the community all day. That's how construction traffic will operate. Everything will be brought onto the site, and it won't block entrance or exit to the community. What work hours or work days have been established? In the EIR, there are work hours and days allowed, and I believe it's 7 a.m. Monday through Friday for a start, and I'll have to look out
I don't know.
when what the work hours allowed are on weekends, but I believe there's hours that are allowed on Saturdays.
Maybe construction hours.
Construction hours, correct. How will we obtain project updates going forward? We will provide updates throughout the construction process at key kind of intervals or timelines as we see fit and as determined by the construction team. Those will probably be routed through the HAC or the site authority to deliver to the HAC. I don't know exactly what the protocol is or will be on that, but that will be determined. And how can we forward complaints and suggestions as the work begins? As part of the requirements of a construction project, we will have to post a phone number on the project site or at the entrance to the project site on the fence for any complaints and suggestions.
And Sean, if I can just jump in on those last 2 questions on, how you'll obtain projects. We have, the website is up on the University Glen. There is under current homeowners, 32 acres project FAQ. And we will be continually updating that as new information becomes available. So that's one quick spot. If it's in the middle of the night and you have a question, go there first. There is also a link to an email address that is 32acres@csuci.edu. That will be monitored, that we will take in your questions. And this is separate from concerns that you might have specifically to Kennedy Wilson. As Sean is saying, there will be a phone number posted there as well, but we want to give you multiple opportunities to reach out and have your questions answered. Of course, we'll continue to give updates through the HAC as well as the Community Advisory Group. So those are the methods for which we have now established and will continue to move forward. So thanks, Sean.
Great. Some questions have come up in regards to CAM and Belarus and CAM budgeting and how it relates to the phase 2 project. I'm not prepared and I'm not privy to the documents and how all that works. I believe the university, either the site authority or the CAM manager, will have a meeting
Yeah, I can
coming up
address that. Yeah,
to address that.
Thanks, Sean. Questions outside of specific questions to Kennedy Wilson. So tonight is really about the project itself, the on the ground, the construction, the mitigation, those things that you might have questions about. I know Tina had reached out earlier about the evacuation plan, and I have information on that as well. But the broader questions that will be raised, we'll be having a town hall because we want to be able to invite all of University Glen community to the town hall to address the bigger questions and the ongoing questions. Specifically, you know, what does this mean to us? How is this community possibly different than our community? Is it different? What are those rules and regulations? Tonight is more about, here's our kind of kickoff. We're letting you know, things are starting to happen next door. And then notifications will be going out at 30 days in advance. So we're anticipating early December.
Great. So with that, I think let's take some questions.
Sure, Tina.
So this, I appreciate, Lori, that you're going to address the evacuation piece, but I think the two are actually very intertwined and interrelated. So question for Kennedy Wilson is, when do you expect the first residents to move in?
Ooh, good question. It's at least probably 2 years from now. The soonest apartment buildings will deliver would be approximately this time, 2023.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Claude, I see that your hand is up.
Hi, yes, it's actually Gabrielle, but
Oh,
I'm
hi,
using my
Gabrielle.
husband's laptop. Hi, Lori, how are you? It's two parts because I think I missed the first part. What is the ratio being built in the first phase of apartments to townhomes? I know you said houses are last.
Well, I can't really give you a ratio because everything will just kind of be phased at the same time. There will be points in time where all 3 product types are being built at once.
Okay.
And we don't have a definitive delivery schedule for the apartments and for the single family homes yet, because we haven't contracted for that work. We've only contracted for the infrastructure work.
Oh,
but
okay.
As that becomes more clear, we'll be able to provide a rough schedule of when the apartment buildings are going to be delivered and start occupying, when the age and income restricted apartments will open up, and we'll have a better idea of, how many homes are going to be built in the first phase and where those are located and roughly when they'll be delivered.
So the second part is, will you be using union labor?
No, this is not a prevailing wage project.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Kelsey, your hand is up.
Hi, where can I get information about homes that will be for sale, including like floor plans and timelines and just making sure we get sort of timely information on that? Just wondering.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we're working on setting up websites for the project from a marketing perspective, and our home building partner, Comstock Homes, is working on developing a web address or a email address and a website for prospective buyers. Up until today, we've been directing everybody to University Glen Phase 2 at kennedywilson.com. But what we'll do is we'll take everybody who's joined that interest list to date, and I believe that email address has been on various websites that the university has set up for questions related to this project. We'll move all those people onto the final kind of homes interest list, and there will be just a general University Glen Phase 2 interest list, unrelated to purchasing homes. So we'll have a couple different options for you here.
And Kelsey, I just put the link into the chat. I put several links in there. We'll go back and revisit on the evacuation plan, but it is Future 32 Acre on the website. And that's has the email address that Sean was discussing. So, and
Great, thanks.
yeah, of course. And Gabrielle, I see that you had a follow-up question.
Yes. Am I on? Yeah, sorry. Follow up to Kelsey's. I actually emailed today inquiring about prices and all of that following the link. Will people in the Glen, will current residents in the Glen get any kind of priority for purchasing before the general public or the rest of the general public?
The same question was asked by John in the chat, and I appreciate it. So as part of our agreement with Kennedy Wilson, the priority system will still apply. However, it's all things being equal. So, you know, we have the same priority system, 1 through 7, going, you know, from our tenured faculty down to members of general public. And it will apply to home sales when there are 2 or more offers that are equal. So it's not the same where it has to sell to a priority member because these are fair market value homes. They are not restricted to the market, the maximum resale price. So you will have priority in that if your offer is the same as another offer, you would have that first priority based on your category. And then I
have
see
a question.
Just one moment. You're welcome. Another question in the chat that came in before that one was Anna Yelly, and forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. What homes are being built first?
Right.
And I think, Sean, as you had mentioned, I mean, initially age-restricted apartments, but at the same time, concurrent with potential mix of townhomes and single-family residence and apartments.
Yeah, there will likely be a combination of some homes and some townhomes being built in the first phase. That ultimately is up to the discretion of our home building partner, who specializes in this. So they'll kind of be evaluating the market over the next year or two, and making that determination.
Thanks, Sean. And Peggy, I see your hand is up.
I have a question.
Hang on just a moment, Carolyn. Peggy's hand is up, but she is still muted. Let me just check real quick. Thank you. All right, we'll come back to Peggy. Thanks, Carolyn. Your question?
My question is, during demolition, how does the developer, the construction project plan to ensure that the dust does not blow onto the apartments and the townhomes, and who will pay for cleaning it? Because we will have east winds for the next 2 months. That's exactly when we're trying to do the demo.
Got it. I was getting feedback, but the question is regarding dust protection through the construction project, especially in demolition. The EIR has specific requirements and mitigation measures to prevent dust from being dispersed outside of the project site. There will be a lot of watering throughout the demolition process to keep dust at bay. But the general contractor will have to abide by all mitigation measures of the EIR.
And the second part of my question, who will pay for cleaning when the dust gets on the townhomes and the apartments?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I think that'll kind of depend on how much dust is generated and where it lands.
And will any roads be closed?
No roads planned to be closed.
We have about 3 more minutes for Q&A, and I know I haven't gotten to Tina's question on the evacuation plan yet. Tina, your hand is up. Since I haven't heard from Peggy yet, let me go ahead and.
I'm now on.
You are. Okay, great, Peggy. What's your question? No worries.
I just have a quick follow-up question. The question was asked about union labor, and I'm
We might have lost you there again, Peggy.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Yep.
I said, I'm just curious as to why this is not a prevailing wage job.
So the high level answer to that question is there's no public funds. Public funds typically trigger the use of union labor, or in this case, prevailing wage labor. The Department of Industrial Relations made a determination specifically for this project that because there are no public funds and for a myriad of other reasons that may trigger prevailing wage, that this project is not subject to paying prevailing wage. That is a determination that you can find on their website at dir.caa.gov.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tina?
Very quickly, 2 things. My first part of this question, how many cars do you anticipate in this new development?
So the EIR made an approximation on total vehicle trips. There was a whole traffic analysis done for the project. I don't know those numbers off the top of my head.
Okay, I can look that up. I have it here. My second part is, and this may not, I'm not sure if this is you or if it's CSU and site authority, but I think this is really important. So I want it on the record. And that is that I wonder why there wasn't done a new environmental impact report. And these are the reasons. You know, the one from 2017, and I appreciate the litigation limit. I know CSU has been very active in litigation in this. I looked up the cases from other campuses, and active meaning also filing appeals, not just responding. But the 2017 isn't accurate anymore because now with the CEQA, there's the new requirement for needing a separate standalone assessment for wildfire assessment. And then also, and I'm looking at the trustees meetings from May 2021, also that these supplementary assessments can be done, particularly if these wildfires impair adopted evacuation plans and emergency plans. And so I'm just curious why this new one wasn't conducted because the current 2017 one makes a mention of the 2013 evacuation, which was nothing like the 2018, which had already an increased volume of cars here. Now adding not just this new development, but also the campus growth that, you know, these two are kind of intertwined. So the question here, why wasn't a new one done or a supplementary one, particularly now that the guidelines have changed? And I know I don't want to put you on the spot, sir, because I know this is really a CSU issue.
It's a great
very much
question.
so.
It's a great question. I'm not a CEQA lawyer or attorney, so I don't know the ins and outs, and I can't speak to the ins and outs of EIR and CEQA law. All I can say is that it is not required for this project. This project, the EIR, was completed and certified back in 2017. But if you know, there's probably somebody that can answer your question, but that needs to be an attorney or a lawyer.
And Tina, I can go back and respond to that at a later time. What I do want to share, because your concern, I saw the 2013 evacuation plan, and Lieutenant Jaton is on here as well. I shared in the chat the link to the updated evacuation plan that was done in 2018. And the campus actually had a third party come in and do the evaluation, and it does review the additional home, the 32-acre site, with 600 additional cars, assuming that there's one car per unit that would be evacuating. However, that is the standard, so take a look at that. I will go back. I'll ask the question with respect to the CEQA and EIR. My understanding, as we've discussed, is, it had been approved. It was not required on this project. And so things have continued to move forward. I do want to follow up on two questions that in the chat, because we are beyond our time. Gary Garcia asked, will the new homes be subject to the same max resale limitations? No, these are fair market value homes. So there are no restrictions on the cost. Consequently as well, they will be fair market value. So where currently in phase one, we have, we're fortunate because the home sales are considerably less than what you might find elsewhere in Ventura County. These will be just like a home in the middle of town in Camarillo. And then John Beck asked, are the existing paved roads staying in place, or will they be demoed and road construction will start from scratch? The current roads, my understanding, Sean, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the new design requires that the roads that are in place and have been there, I think, since 2004 or so, will be demoed where they are no longer appropriate for the new project.
Yeah, that's correct. Pretty much the entire road network on the phase two parcel or site will be reconfigured. So most of them will be demolished and removed.
And I thank you so much. And I see everyone's comments. You're picking up on my one car that Chris or Lieutenant, excuse me. I don't know if you want to speak to that, or because we're over time, why don't we address that during the town hall as to how organizations that do this work as professionals determine what that is, and let's provide more information. We didn't make it up, so we'll get the experts' responses to that. Paula's question, and this will be the last one, is will the new phase be subject to the same ground sublease? There will be differences in that we have a different community in respect to how it is managed. It is not subject to the maximum resale price, but many of the same ground sublease requirements are already in place for phase two. That's what's been presented. Those things that were very specific to phase one, such as maximum resale price and the need to give 30 days notice, all of those things to allow us to purchase the home, us being site authority, are not applicable in this new phase two, 32 acres. So with that, I'm sorry that we could not get to all of your questions. If you would please submit them to the 32 acres, all one word, 32 acres at csuci.edu. We will be monitoring that. and taking in those questions and determining when we will be able to, have our town hall and respond. So.
Yeah, and I'd just like to thank everybody for their questions. And, we're in this community already, and we know what construction is like when it's nearby and when it's next door. And we've all lived through construction next door to us at some point. So we're committed to doing our best to, being the best stewards of this community and building it as quickly and efficiently as possible. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sean, and I will second that. Thank you for everyone's time, and have a great rest of your HAC meeting.
Thank you for your presentation. We'll look forward to the town hall.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we want to have a conversation about what was said at this point, or do you want to move forward with our agenda?
Let me ask, just so I want to make sure I got the contact information right. So if we have more follow-up, because some of the questions I think were completely answered. It's 32 acres at CSUCI.edu.
Correct.
32 acres, one string.
Yes, one string.
Take care of it now. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Well, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the previous meeting's minutes. Any?
I didn't have time to read them, they were sent too late, so I would suggest that we defer. I didn't have time to read them.
I read them quickly, and based upon that, I would approve them.
Okay, so we have one deferral, one approval. I'm on approval, and we've lost the fourth member of the
I
group.
would ask that the minutes be provided to us no later than 2 weeks after the last minute meeting. When I get the minutes,
Noted.
24 hours before, not a good idea.
Noted.
So we don't have a quorum for.
We have a quorum. There are three of us.
So we need 3 positive votes, 3 yeses.
And we could just defer it. We don't have to rush it.
We've lost Kevin. If Kevin were here.
I'm on the Zoom.
Oh, Kevin is now on Zoom. Kevin, approval of the previous.
Yes,
meeting.
I approve.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
Then we approve them with Carolyn's request that they be sent sooner, noted by Jake. And now our public safety report.
Well, good evening, everyone. Happy Breast Cancer and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. A bunch of stuff going on down here at the PD. A couple of things to report. Some general announcements. This Saturday, as in 2 days from now, on the 23rd, from 8 to 11 a.m., we'll be hosting a University Glen Coffee with the Cops event outdoors. This will be directly outside of the clubhouse area and the Mission Hills apartment office there at the town center. And so we'll have some coffee and donuts there. Come down and meet some of our officers. I believe the chief will be out. And then also support our Pink Patch Project if you can. We're again all wearing our pink uniform patches in support of breast cancer awareness and fundraising for a student scholarship for those affected by cancer. In addition to that, we're just less than a week away from Halloween, and we know how we're a little over a week away from Halloween. We know Halloween is a big deal in the Glen, and so we are pleased to announce, and I'm sure it was put out in the e-blast that went out this month, but we will be bringing back Operation Safe Halloween this year. And so Expect to see added police personnel out and about on Halloween, as well as a setup of some kind up at the corner of, what is that, Kyler and Channel Islands Drive, where we've done in the past. So we'll light up the footbridge between 1A and 1B, and we'll have some cars and a little command center set up out there for Halloween. Other than that, I don't really have any other pressing public safety issues. I will just say the wildlife has come back to us quite a bit lately. There's a lot of deer out and about, and with deer always brings the possibility of mountain lions and other types of things. And so there was one reported possible mountain lion sighting this last week, and some messaging went out. Well, at least I hope it went out to via CAM earlier this week. But no, we have no tagged mountain lions in the area, no known confirmed mountain lions. But because of the deer, there was one possible sighting reported by a student on campus. And so just be aware, don't be out late at night by yourself. Follow the safety tips. And if you see anything, call 911 or call the police department right away. With that, if anyone has any questions.
Question about mountain lion. Does that mountain lion have a tracker collar?
No, we have no confirmed mountain lions with collars in the area. Fish and Wildlife has explained to us that with the increase in deer recently, it is possible that we have a younger male mountain lion who's not tagged, trying to find some new territory, but that is not confirmed. And we have only had one reported possible sighting, but they couldn't say without a doubt that it was a mountain lion. So we're not 100% on that, but just be aware that it is possible that these animals are out there, the resources are out there, and hopefully that message went out. And I don't know if Jake is here, but that message went out. There are some links for additional information related to our local wildlife. I did see a hand up, Mr. McClone.
Hi, Officer Chichon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
I missed, when was the coffee with the cops? Thanks for doing that. So when is that?
That's this Saturday, the 23rd, from 8 to 11 at the town center.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Tina.
Of course, I have a question. And before I ask my question, I just want to say that, our police they are wonderful. I mean, they do so much for us, and they're accessible. And at the end of the day, my question has to do about this fire business. And so at the end of the day, they are at the front line and they get us out. They've gotten us out before. Now, I don't want to put you on the spot and you may not be able to answer this, but I do want to ask this question though. And that is, were you aware that their estimation of cars is only at 600, which is 1 per unit? And if not, what will that do for you in your trying to get, my estimation, if it's 2 cars per unit, that's 1196, so 1,196. Taking, maybe some 1 car, maybe some 3, maybe 4. So, but definitely 100,000 plus. What is that going to do for your work? Because you're at the front lines, and we respect that work.
Yeah. So the plan that came out of that private party review, which was Fair and Peers, and I'll be frank, I didn't know that they had only planned for 1 car. It says it. I brought it up when the comment was made and did confirm that it does estimate 1 car in its analysis. But regardless of that, the plan in play establishes some set traffic control points. And so as long as we have staffing to hit those set traffic control points, it really wouldn't matter if it was 600 cars or 2,000 cars. And so the issue this last time, and if you remember the differences between the Springs fire in 2013 and then Thomas Woolsey, in the last fire, it actually was more chaotic the first time around. The second time around, traffic got impeded not because of anything here on campus, but because the freeway got shut down. And so traffic had actually built up all down Lewis Road, right? Everything was stuck. And And unfortunately, that caused a little bit of backup and delay, but the fire was not right on top of us at that moment. So we had time to get folks out and establish processes in place to get folks back in. Once everyone was out, we had a full contingent of officers running escorts back in for residents throughout that closure period to get property items and things. All that said, I don't think necessarily the higher number of cars would impede us, because the plan is based on some set traffic control points, just like we would do during, for example, a commencement event for flowing out of traffic. But with those spots actually controlled, it should allow for the somewhat free flow of traffic, assuming that the roads beyond our perimeters are not backed up. If that makes sense.
Thank you.
Claude?
Yes, hi, it's Gabrielle.
Hi, Gabrielle.
So to follow up with what you just said, though, that you're acting as though shutting down the 101 was an anomaly, and going forward, it seems to be clear with climate change and the drought and everything, that shutting down the 101 could very well be the norm. And that needs to be taken into account, because Santa Barbara just had the 101 shut down for almost, I think, 5 days, because I couldn't take it going up north and back. And I got diverted to the 154, and from the 154, I got diverted to the 5. So I think that we can't make the assumption that that is a one-off. I think that is going to be the new norm.
Yeah, and I should follow up. I also said on the council that just recently put together the Ventura County Transportation Emergency Preparedness Plan, because of both the closures during Thomas Woolsey and also the mudslides that followed in Santa Barbara following that event. I will say that this time, at the time of that evacuation, this last one when we were all backed up, the fire was not on top of us. So we didn't have as urgent of a push to get people cleared as we did during Springs, right? Springs, the fire was on top of us. We needed to get folks out as quickly as possible. And I think had the fire been on top of us during this last time, then some changes would have been made. You would not have been able to go towards the freeway. You would have been pushed out towards Oxnard, right? And so it just depending on the circumstances, we can speed up or slow down the pace of those evacuations. But in this case, we learned a lot from those two events, right? We did not anticipate that we would get backed up all the way from the freeway in those cases. It had never happened before.
We need to anticipate it now, though.
Yeah, well, we have an entire comprehensive transportation emergency preparedness plan with the County of Ventura.
Thank you.
Chris, we've got more of a request than anything. When the construction project starts, could your force give a little attention to that first roundabout where the construction traffic's going to be coming? The drivers aren't going to be used to a third portal, so now you literally have to stop before you make your way around. And of course, the trucks with trailers and backhoes and all that stuff are going to be moving slow. So.
It's a little difficult to hear you. Someone else is causing some feedback. But I believe you're speaking to the construction traffic at the entrances to the 32-acre developments.
Yeah, Chris, I'm just asking if your police force could give that roundabout a little extra attention for the first week or so during construction when it starts, because we're going to have a third portal now going into the roundabout. So now you have to really fully stop, because you don't know how far around the traffic's going to go. We're going to have semis with slow moving. They're going to be slow moving because they've got trailers with backhoes and so forth. So it's just, I can envision some congestion and maybe some confusion.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I want everyone to, we are directly linked up. In fact, the chief and I both got to attend the pre-construction meeting with the developers last week. And so we've seen their traffic plans. We've seen their routing maps, things of that nature that are that are being proposed, and we will be directly involved with monitoring those things and holding them accountable to some requirements we've put in place for keeping traffic as clear as possible for the residents.
I have a separate question, and I don't want to move off this important topic, but I need to ask. For the last 3 months, I have asked how to display a permit on a motorcycle. And every month I get told the next month I'm going to have the answer. Does anyone have that answer?
Well, I will defer again to Jake. I don't know if Jake is in the room. I've sent my recommendation several months ago to both Jake and De Paula with Mission Hills about the purchase of motorcycle-specific parking permits, which we currently do not have. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Jake, is there any movement?
There's De Paula and I have talked about it, and De Paula was going to get further information. Right now, what we were talking about was having a permit that can be attached to the, what is it, the spoke at the front on the front wheel, and that is where we would have them put. And so we're talking about that. The actual what the permit would look like is where we are right now.
Okay, thank you for the update.
Any other questions for the officer? Thank you so much.
There's some in the chat.
I'm sorry, I can't see the chat on the screen we're looking at.
I had one question for the officer. He said there were requirements from the developer regarding evacuation. What are some of those requirements?
No, I didn't. Requirements for them keeping the roadways clear. So they've been given some requirements for when and how traffic, specifically large vehicles, can exit and enter the property. And the university has placed some requirements about them not having traffic backed up out on Channel Islands Drive. So they have to have the ability to get those vehicles moved into their job site very quickly with traffic control, and so that we don't impede the free flow of residents in and out of the property.
Okay, I have my hand up, but I'm not getting called upon. I know you have it, but when those cars initially moved in and we loaded up that 32 acres with all those cars, those drivers were doing anything they wanted. So what happens if they fail to follow these requirements?
Thank you, Mr. McClone. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. Yeah, so our officers will be monitoring. The car contract was a little different, and there are different types of folks. We have direct communication now with the actual superintendents and contractors that are supervising this project, and so they will, if they don't follow our rules, they'll hear from us, and if not, they don't respond, our officers will take actions that are needed to get those drivers to follow the rules.
Oh, great, thank you. Not to take away resource, but could there be an officer there when the flow is heavy and to make sure that they're following the rules? I mean, not to tell you what to do, but will the officers be aware?
Yes, we're interfacing with the construction company. We'll know their schedules. We plan on being around during heavy traffic times. I cannot guarantee an officer will be there every single day when trucks are coming in and out, depending on what is going on, of course. But yes, we are keenly aware of the activities up there and directly communicating with the contractors. So when that demolition starts at the first of the month, we will be around and paying attention.
Great, thank you very much.
So, and I'd also like to point out that these are questions that you might also direct to the 32 acres site because the direct management of the people with the trucks will be the construction management for the new development.
Okay.
Thank you all so very much.
The officer's right here.
Brightview. Who is with us today for Brightview?
Yeah, good evening. Scott Godfrey, Regional Manager for Brightview Landscape Services. Thank you, everybody, for having me on. Just want to make sure you can hear me. But I'm reporting in for Lazaro. With me, I've got Eric Lopez, our account manager, as well. Tonight, I want to cover just a couple of topics. We had a great meeting with Jake recently with our full team talking about upcoming projects, specifically centered around brush clearance around the new construction area. The upcoming, making sure that we are aware and staying on top of the upcoming requirements for the brush clearance around the community, near the homes, and those working with the, excuse me, the fire department on the new regulations, and how does that play into our next round of planting. We call that the phase 2 planting, not to be confused with the phase 2 construction. Phase 1 was all of the plant material that recently went in throughout the community. And we are now working on the next phase of that. Trying to capitalize on what worked well, what people like, and make sure we continue that, but also making sure that we are being cognizant of the upcoming fire requirements, meaning making sure that we're removing plant material, not putting down any mulch, putting down different types of ground cover that are fire resistant. So that's one of the big things that we have going on right now. And our team of designers, tree care professionals are currently working on that. And we should have some numbers back to Jake, some rough numbers, hopefully soon, so that he can apply for some grant money for the community. And I know that's a big project and would be a huge help to the community. And we're partnering with that. Some of the maintenance items, I'm going to turn it over to Eric in a few minutes to go over base maintenance, but some of the other items that we have going on. Working into the irrigation system, making sure that we're doing our monthly checks. I think we're in August, September, October. We're in month 3 of our irrigation checks. Jake and I have gone through and worked out a system where we're providing our written notes with what we found, our irrigation techs found, and providing that to Jake along with the monthly invoice to make sure that we are getting everything covered, along with any notes that we find. One of the other big irrigation items that we're working on right now is a test area Eric will be working on, specifically on some of the streets where the water is on the bullnose and overspraying, could be overspraying onto the cars, into the road, or down into the sidewalks. So we're gonna take a couple of areas and put together what we're calling a test section to make sure that we are testing that to find out the best way to limit the overspray. Could be adding a head, could be removing heads, putting different nozzles, low volume nozzles, low pressure. That's something that Eric is working on with our irrigation specialist who had come down from Northern California to take a look at this. Along with taking a look at all the Weathermatic controllers, making sure that those are online. We will be lowering down the water here pretty soon. Hopefully actually really soon. We'll be turning it off for the rain, hopefully coming up on Monday. Make sure that we're not watering in the rain, but also making sure that we're going into our winter program. We're also working on the renewals for all the controllers, and that was something else that Eric was working on. The last just kind of bigger ticket item that we discussed and we're working on is we will be taking down the fencing, or at least moving the fencing in the dog park here pretty soon. And what we're going to do, our plan is to go in the section that was fenced off in the large dog portion, mow that. That's looking a lot better. We're happy with the results there. And then we're going to move the fence to section off another area, put down some seed aeration, let that grow, and just kind of move the fencing around as the turf itself reestablishes itself. So again, just kind of move it around and hopefully get things going again in the dog park. Those are some of the bigger items. I know Eric was having some technical difficulties, but Eric, if you are still on, if you want to add any notes to general maintenance, please feel free to jump in there. Give him a second. I know he's having some issues. Okay. Well, anyways, I know he was jumping in there, but Eric's biggest issue was just making sure that we're closing out the work orders in a timely manner. The big thing that he's really focusing on right now, you guys could probably notice, is the leaf drop from all of the sycamores. That keeps our teams busy right now. And then as we kind of transition from what we call routine maintenance, which is just mow, trim, weed, mow, trim, weed, we're going to start moving into our winter tasks, which include renovation, pruning, trimming of small patio trees, overseeding some areas. We had some good success with the overseeding last year in some of the areas that weren't doing well. And we're hoping to make sure that we are taking advantage of the cooler season and putting down some seed in some of the areas where the turf still continues to struggle. So like I said, we're moving into from the summer of just real heavy production into the non-routine items of winter. And Jake, that's what I have for update so far, and happy to take any questions or comments.
Thanks for the reminder, Mary.
I think Carolyn would agree with me. We're co-chairs on the landscape committee. Could you and Jake be doing some?
Here, talking.
I'm going to speak on behalf of Carolyn and myself as co-chairs of the landscape committee. Could you engage the landscape committee as you move forward, particularly with regard to the palette for the next phase of the landscaping project? We'd like to see kind of what you have planned. I think a couple of us were a little surprised maybe at what we saw, and want to start getting some definitive ideas on the new fire resistant requirements that we think we're going to have to adhere to. I know they're not finalized yet, but so I'll ask that of Jake and Scott.
And I want to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I remember looking at the palette when you guys were selling this to us, when you were selling it to us, and it had all kinds of red grasses and yellow grasses and green grasses, and everything looked real beautiful. And now I look at phase one and it looks like everything is basically the same. We have a couple, we have grasses, they all look the same. We have the kangaroo paws, they're all the same color. I'm looking at the palette right now. I don't see any new salvia. I don't see any purple majesty. I don't see any hibiscus on Anacapa. It's just so boring. And I can't believe that we paid this much money for this boring, just plain old stuff. It looks to me even more plain and worse than it did before. That's my opinion.
I acknowledge what you're saying, Carolyn. There was another dynamic in this when Cathedral Cove was done. Mission Hills requested and paid for by themselves a landscape architect, and within that area, the asset manager and the landscape architect were the ones who were pushing for their facility to have this. And in consultation with the site authority, their design for their portion of the property per their ground sublease allowed them to do that. And so if you look at the Cathedral Cove, much of that is grasses. And along with that, the conversation when it was Lazaro and Gabrielle Powell and myself and Mission Hills Day Paula and James from Salazar from Mission Hills looked at the agreed on the plant palette for the roundabouts. And that was a group decision that was not totally up to the townhouse and single family homeowners on it. And so that was when the HAC's landscape committee was involved. And so those decisions were very transparent, and that's the dynamic that we have here in University Glen regarding property that Mission Hills has a preference for. I would also like to point out that the excess above the 596.64 569.94 per door at Cathedral Cove, that those costs were borne by Mission Hills. And so that is being reimbursed to the reserves for the $18,000 that went above their 100 doors at Cathedral Cove. So we're watching it very closely, Carolyn.
It's still boring. It's still the same. Can't they fix it? I mean, a lot
No.
of the plants are dead.
They will,
Can you put
Carolyn,
some color in there?
Carolyn, that if you look at the plants in the roundabouts, there is both purple and yellow there, okay? It will take a little bit of time for them to grow, but they are there. And as far as Cathedral Cove is concerned, that is working with the owner who by their ground sublease has the right to do that.
I don't know about Cathedral Cove. I'm talking about Anacapa. It's all the same. We have little grasses all up and down Anacapa. We have grasses and we have kangaroo pods.
And agaves and other things too, yes.
So let me just suggest, can you engage us?
I would offer that we have been engaging the HAC Landscape Committee. I'm happy that now both of you are on the landscape. It will. And we acknowledge that you and Carolyn are the members on the Landscape Committee. Last year, it was Gabrielle. So we worked with Gabrielle on it.
And I don't mean, well, I do mean to interrupt real quick, but I don't think it's perfect. It never is. Nobody is ever 100% pleased. We can't please everyone. But I did walk down the street the other day and noticed a handful of homes on Landing Cove that were barren dirt patches that now are seeing their plants start to blossom and grow and come into their normal size. So there has been an improvement on Landing Cove. Is it perfect? Are there other homes that really need some help still? Of course, but there has been some improvement. I can't speak to Anacapa. I'm not really aware of how much of that is common area on Anacapa, but on Landing Cove, there has been some improvement and the plants have been replaced that died and seem to be taking this time around with more regular water. So, but that's my observation as an ex-member.
So Scott, I have a forward-looking question. The governor has just applied water use limits to Southern California from Northern California. Have you any sense of what those limits in terms of our being able to irrigate due to our current plantings or to the things we've recently planted? Have you guys begun to look at, I know you're doing some research and trying to eliminate wasted water use, but going forward, have we got a contingency plan yet? Or can I at least put the water use issue back on the table?
So I have not seen the latest one. I apologize. Maybe I missed something. I do know that I was on a call about a week and a half ago with the local water agencies. Local water agencies do not anticipate any sort of reductions as of this year, the next season. However, it is all dependent on the rainfall we get this year. Their reservoirs are full, so they do not necessarily anticipate any sort of reductions. That being said, doesn't mean that we aren't always looking to make sure that the plant material that we are putting on is what we call, low water usage. Is not necessarily drought tolerant or succulents, but we want to make sure that we are being cognizant of the water issues. We don't like to put up a lot of things that are very high water usage. And that always takes a part when we're looking at our planting pallets and again, making sure that we're not putting high water plant material in. So that is something that we look at. And we're always happy to engage with the community. We like to learn from what worked and what didn't work. If plant material isn't surviving because of something that we did, we always want to stand behind that. We get the work orders and we go back behind it and replant it. If we've missed something, I apologize. Please submit a work order and we'll make sure that Eric and the team get on top of it.
And we use recycled water too, so there's plenty of extra water.
We ran out in the last severe drought cycle.
I hear you.
I understand that there's no limitation on recycled water. I I never heard of them running out of it. That would mean that there would be no water left, you know, when we're draining our showers, but that's what we use is recycled.
I have a separate question about the tree trimming. May I speak or should I wait?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Gabrielle.
Okay, hi, Scott and Jake. You mentioned you were going to be doing trimming for some of the smaller trees. Is Brightview doing the large sycamores this year as well? And has that been scheduled and moving forward for this year's tree trimming?
Yes, we do have sycamores on our calendar to go through and do some trimming on the sycamores. That in our group discussion earlier this week, that was one of our biggest concerns, making sure we do have some very mature, large sycamores. So we're making sure we're taking care of those. Unfortunately, in front of me, I don't have the whole tree trimming plan, but that is something that before we do any work, we always submit that to Jake to make sure that we're on the same page. It's usually a blend of trying to take care of any sort of pending work orders, building clearance, and then making sure that we're taking care of the health of the tree. So we're trying to satisfy a couple of different needs at the same time. When I talked about tree trimming, it's for when I talk about the maintenance crew, I talk about Paco and Eric's crew.
Right.
That's more like lifting. That's some of the smaller patio type trees, maybe some of the maintenance trees. But our tree care team will come in and take care of the larger trees.
Beautiful. Thank you.
The other thing I would like to offer is that with the legislation that is anticipated to be signed, I believe some portions of it were signed on September 24th regarding defensible space. We will not be using mulch within 5 feet of any structure going forward. And so we're transitioning into that and working to incorporate that approach into the phase 2 landscape refurbishing. And so that's a heads up as we move forward that how to integrate what the anticipated defensible space requirements are with the refurbishing is the task that will look both to to yourselves on the landscape committee as well as Mission Hills so that everybody is rowing the same direction.
Mulch, and I reported this to Jake about 2 weeks ago. Whoever installed the mulch by my house, they installed mulch right up against my house. They threw it on my neighbor's windowsill. There weren't even new plants planted there. It's like they just threw about 12 square feet of mulch in there. I don't know why. I don't want it there. There's no new plants there, and I really don't understand how that happened or what the purpose is, but it feels very dangerous to me. I reported that over 2 months ago, and nothing has changed. The mulch is still on my neighbor's windowsill.
Sorry, ma'am, I don't have your email, or sorry, not your email, but your address off the top of my head. I will make sure that we get that taken care of for you tomorrow.
I can talk to you about the that work order.
Sounds good.
Let me ask, systematically, are you still, when requests come in?
Yes, we're doing work orders. I don't, with Carolyn, I know you also had a raccoon issue. So I don't know, when I took your work order before, I went to Brightview. Brightview had said that they had done nothing on with Jose Diaz, that he hadn't been there for 2 months. So, when the contractor says that they have not done work and you're saying that mulch has been added, I'm getting 2 messages. And I know that we also had the pest control guy in your courtyard with raccoons. So there are a lot of things going on at your house that we can talk about at somebody else's time, please. Okay.
That wasn't actually in my courtyard, it was out front and happened after they installed the plants. I don't know why I have to pay for it. I don't know why we have to pay for it, because no new plants were actually planted there. It's all old plants.
Okay, let's move on.
Any other landscaping issues that we need to bring forward? Then thank you, Scott. We appreciate your time and answering of questions. Steve Offerman,
Thank
I
you.
don't believe you're on tonight, correct? Okay, I don't believe. So it's, we're turned to committee reports. And Maisha had a work emergency and isn't able to be here tonight. Excuse me, not Maisha. Malia has a work emergency and wasn't able to be here. What I know about where the social committee is going is they're busily getting ready for Halloween and the Halloween movies that are planned. Trick or treating in the neighborhood is happening and they're filling goodie bags. Last report I had was they had 90 requests for goodie bags for individual children in the neighborhood, which sounds like there'll be a great Halloween for most of our kids, which I think is something we can all be excited about. Tom, Carolyn, landscape report. Do you wish to do?
Don't have a lot to add. We, landscape committee has not met. And we're just waiting to get with Jake and Scott to understand the next phase of the project. And I do have the work order details for the month of September. It looks like there are still 6 work orders in September that are still open. And there's 23 in total open, going all the way back to about a year ago. Actually, one of them is mine. So that's where the statistics are.
Order for the mulch issue on it?
It's not. That's what I was going to ask Jake about.
Okay. So do we have a process for double checking with people and clearing work orders when they reach a certain age?
No, that's part of what I was trying to ask Jake is there should be an established process in which if someone has a work order request for landscaping, Jake should be, of course, entering it in the system and also providing a copy to the requester that gives the details and the work order number so that you can have an understanding that this is in the system, and if there's a problem, you can refer to that work order specifically. So I'll follow up with Jake about how that is going.
Great. Gabrielle, Garden Committee?
Hi, yes. So we've the rate of inflation is massive and our budget is very small, but we kind of sketched out a bare bones garden plan. Carolyn and I were talking about using cinder stone or the blocks. The price of galvanized steel hardware cloth is quite exorbitant, as is wood. So that's kind of holding us back, but we think we can do it, or I think we can swing it if we have a few extra $1,000 and the school agrees to loan us their small backhoe along with a backhoe operator that the facilities department has. I put an email out a couple of weeks ago. I have not heard back from them. So I was also going to reach out to Brightview and see if maybe they possibly could help us. Of course, it would need to come with, because of liability, it would need to come with an operator, unless they want to see me operating the backhoe, which I guarantee they do not. So, but it could save us money and we could possibly pull off an expansion with just a little bit extra money. But again, still kind of waiting on some responses.
So is there a budget line item? I wasn't part of last year's budget. Is
It's
there a budget line item?
$5,000.
$5,000 for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think we could do it for maybe 75 bare bones, but with the gopher controlling hardware cloth. I think I'm saying that right, Carolyn. Having said that, we need the backhoe and then we need the operator of the backhoe and we need the dirt to fill back in the 25 by 50 or the foot lot, because we don't want to put the crabgrass back on. So we need some dirt. So but I'm, like I said, I'm waiting to hear from Lori regarding the possible gifting of a backhoe and backhoe operator from the university's facility department. That's it.
Okay. So expansion is pending additional resources is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, additional resources, responses, and all the above. I think we could get a plan together if we just knew, you know, what we can and can't use from the university.
Have you reached out to facilities?
I have reached out to facilities and they are aware of my request, and they asked me to reach out to Lori Nichols. So I have. And
A question.
Yeah.
Do you have an alternative if facilities doesn't do it?
Bright View. Or,
Brightview?
you know,
Okay,
I
let's
could
get a
rent
price.
one and operate it myself, but that could be kind of
Okay.
dicey, Jake.
Okay, let's look at all the alternatives.
So,
Right.
so what I'm hearing though is that if you were to pay market rate for a backhoe or whatever you need a total of 7,500 to get the project done.
I believe so, but we'd also, you know, we need the operator and we need to look at liability and all of that. So what we know is that we could probably submit 2 proposals for 2 sites, 2 different plans, bare bones plans to get it done. So we could have a proposal hopefully on Jake's desk with the help of Carolyn and Maisha.
Right.
Okay,
Sounds good.
thank you. Kevin, are you still online?
I'm still here.
Great. Do you want to speak to the bag?
Sure, I'll speak for just a minute about the bag.
Budget advice. BAG is the Budget Advisory Group.
So the bag met on Tuesday, mostly with Ben Gordon, a representative from Kennedy Wilson Multifamily, and we did discuss some aspects of 32 acres lot, and we let them know our concerns, you know, from the budget standpoint, and the community, our concerns regarding the CAM fee allocation, common area management, and we also let them know, you know, we have some outstanding issues with the site authority and some of the investments that our community has been paying for regarding the infrastructure for all the land. So there's not just the Melrose CFD bonds, but the water infrastructure that our community has paid off that will also provide water to that community. So we let them know all these issues, and we are going to set up another meeting with Kennedy Wilson, kind of one-on-one, to discuss some of those so that we can present, because really it's a site authority situation. But we asked Kennedy Wilson to kind of join us since they're the developer over there, and you know, it needs to be reconciled. So we're hopeful for some more discussions about that. We also discussed the tot lot, and we have a proposal to finally rebuild the tot lot. It is still over budget, not as crazy as maybe it had been in the past, but after 2 years of chasing our tails, trying to come in within budget, I think we've just realized that our budget was unrealistic. So we are the tot lot is a common area reserve item. So every door in this neighborhood pays into the reserves and rebuilds the tot lot. So so we are suggesting to the site authority that they take this proposal and they move forward with replacing the tot lot with something newer, modern, and safer. I see a hand up.
Yeah, I got a question, Kevin. Who owns the tot lot?
So it's my understanding, I actually haven't read for myself, but it's my understanding that Kennedy Wilson owns the improvements on that land. So similar to, you know, it's all a lease, but I think Kennedy Wilson owns the improvements at this point.
So Kennedy Wilson owns the improvements. Why are we as residents paying for it?
That question has been raised, and I think that in some of the prior discussions with Kennedy Wilson and the site authority, going back to the fact that it's a reserve item, so everybody shares in that cost, similar to the way that everybody benefits from that. So that's my understanding. I mean, I know that it's the same.
Wait, hold on. I know everybody benefits from it. My question is, who owns it and who should be responsible for it? Because if they own it, they're responsible for it. And if they want me to pay to use it, then I'll pay to use it. But if they own it, they should be restructuring it, resurfacing it, whatever. So they own it and I can use it, correct?
They own it, and they took ownership when they excuse me, when they purchased their all of the apartments and everything that came with the apartments a number of years ago. The pools and the tot lot, and I think that Tom is the expert on exactly what they ended up owning.
Well, Jake was going to jump in. Jake, what do you got to say?
The situation is that when they purchased, that there was some deferred maintenance that was included in, my understanding was included in the deal. And that included the renovations of the pools. It did not include the renovation of the tot lot at the time. Subsequently, all of the common area reserves are paid by all of us, which includes 60% of the multifamily, of Kennedy Wilson multifamily. They pay 60% of the common area reserves each month. And so with that, their portion of it allows us to say, because they have been paying into it, and that has gone, back as been funded into the common area reserves, that the site authority determined that all the people, all 600 units would participate in the renovation of the tot lot.
But tearing it down and rebuilding it is not renovation.
So
That's a capital improvement.
So the ground sublease negotiated between the site authority and Kennedy Wilson at the time they purchased the apartments and the amenities allows them to select to put items in the common area or not. When it's to their financial advantage to leave them in, they have the legal right, according to their ground sublease, to leave them in. When it is to their either programmatic or financial advantage to take them out, they do. For example, the community room we're sitting in right now as we broadcast to all of you, Kennedy Wilson has decided to take that out because they wish to maintain it at a higher level than we do for items that are in the normal rotation of refurbishment under the common area reserves. So it is, what we are looking at here is actually according to their negotiated ground sublease with the site authority, over which we had no input and no control, but that is the fact of the matter. That ground sublease means that this is a common area reserve item, and it will be paid for out of common area reserves, 60% of which will be contributed by Kennedy Wilson. The site authority, and there's negotiations at the sale of the properties to Kennedy Wilson. That document is in Kennedy Wilson's ground sublease with the site authority. Kennedy Wilson has the document outlines, for example, for landscaping, they have a right to pull out of our landscaping contract and do it independently if they can find a better deal than we get together. We get a best deal doing it all together, and so we do landscaping in the common area together. When they have a project in landscaping where they want to do more than we can afford to do as a neighborhood, and they decide that's an investment they have a business justification for, that is what they do. I mean, they are a business. All right, try me again then.
Does the sub-ground lease give Kennedy Wilson the right to determine how much reserves we have to pay into the amenities? And does it give them the right to make the rules for the amenities instead of us? If you know, I just want to know.
So what I do know is items that are left in the common area reserves go through the common area reserve study process, and the amount that's budgeted is that which comes out of that process. So no, they don't dictate what the common area reserve replacement costs are. What they have a choice about is whether an item is in the reserves or not how that is budgeted for inside the reserves. The rules depend on where you are. I think if you look at the room we're sitting in, for example, Kennedy Wilson has not put in the common area. The room we're sitting in is a Kennedy Wilson facility that they make available to us at no charge to do a meeting once a month. Any other use of this facility is governed by Kennedy Wilson rules because they own it and it's not in the common area. Where things are in the common area and we govern them commonly for our members of the common area, as an HAC, we have the right to recommend rules for how things are managed. So things that sit out there that are in the common area, they might be officially owned by Kennedy Wilson, but they're in the common area. We have the right to recommend to the site authority what we think those rules will be. But ultimately, we have no authority to make a decision about what those rules will be. We only have the right to recommend.
So the proposed rules for the tot lot say no goldfish, no food, no anything in the tot lot. Who decided that?
I offhand don't know. Is it currently on the posted signs?
It's in the proposed rules for the tot lot. No goldfish in the tot lot. Who wrote that?
So the Rules Committee drafted that document. Most of what is in for the tot lot, I don't know about the goldfish. My memory, I can't recall. But we pulled the sign with the rules off the gate, and that was the core of the rules. I'd have to go back and recreate some history.
Okay.
If that was
I'm
it.
just wondering if it was.
I don't remember.
That we need to stay on the agenda.
Okay.
At this point and not deviate into the separate rules conversation. That we try to create its own separate conversation on that topic. Malia's not with us.
It's hard to hear you, sorry.
Malia is not with us for a report from the CAG. I don't recall, I watched the meeting online. I don't recall any significant events happening at the last CAG meeting. My apologies. That's Jake, are you aware? Yeah, Jake was not there at the last CAG meeting. So it was really a very low-key meeting, basically. However, one of the things we typically do under this item is come up with topics for the next CAG meeting. We've heard a lot tonight about 32 acres. Are there issues the HAC would like to convey to Malia for the next CAG meeting, which is a week from today, I believe?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
no, okay.
I mean, there are lots of questions I have follow-up about the 32 acres, but I'm intending to take that through the 32 acre email site, not through this.
Super, super.
not through the
Okay,
fax.
Jake, you're on.
Okay, several things. So everyone's aware, on October 18th, the Ventura County Health Officer extended the August 20th, 2021 ordering all individuals in the county to wear face coverings in all indoor public settings and businesses for the control of COVID-19, and will continue to be in effect until Ventura County has three things. One is reached moderate level COVID-19 transmission tier. 2, COVID-19 hospitalizations in the county are low and stable in the judgment of the health officer. And 3, 8 weeks have passed since a COVID-19 vaccine has been authorized for emergency use by federal and state authorities for 5 to 11-year-olds, or 80% of the county's total eligible population is fully vaccinated with 2 doses of Moderna or Pfizer, or 1 dose of the Johnson & Johnson. And it said booster doses were not considered, or until order is extended, rescinded, superseded, or amended in writing by the health officer. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I'll add that into my one of my upcoming e-blasts. Yes, Patrick?
First of all, is that a law, and who's going to enforce it if it is a law?
Okay, I'm informing you what the Ventura County Health Officer has sent out. This is informational. I'm just saying that is, I'm transmitting information.
I got it. I have another question, if you could, regarding the tot lot. The HAC is like not protecting, but they're sharing with everybody else the concerns of the residents. I don't understand why I'm paying for something that Kennedy Wilson owns. Can the HAC push forward where the residents are not supposed to, they should not pay for anything that somebody else owns? Can the HAC push that forward, please?
At the present time, what has happened is that we put the proposal together, and we talked at the BAG meeting. Basically, there was monies in the reserves this year budget to renovate the tot lot. There has been that in the budget for the last 3 years, and we've gone right and left, and Kennedy Wilson went forward. Theirs came in at $225,000. And so we went back to a more conventional approach. And this was with multifamily and Mission Hills in the room, along with the HAC's ad hoc committee for this. So yes, you were represented in the conversation with the mothers. And so
with the mothers, what?
Yes, Patrick.
There was a call for mothers to a meeting? I don't understand.
Where have you been, Patrick? Where have you been?
How many mothers showed up, Jake? How many mothers showed up?
What I'm saying is there were 4 people. Kevin Olson.
4? Oh my God. Don't we have like 270 houses for the residents? How do 4 people speak for everybody?
Hey, may I speak?
Reason?
Okay, so here's what we did, is that we here talked about it, and that we determined in consultation with the site authority that to move this forward, there would be an ad hoc committee. The ad hoc committee included Katina Bergen, Ashley Garcia, Kristen Litton, and Kevin Olson.
Jake.
Along with all of these people. So people who are interested, and it's representative government, Patrick. And so with that,
okay, Jake, I understand you're talking.
And the recommendation,
HAC, please address it. HAC, please address it. Not you, Jake. I want the HAC to address it.
Hey, I'm having to step in real quick here. So that process happened, and I don't think that's what Mr. McLeod was asking. And I think that regarding the financing of the tot lot, you know, Tom, I think, was the one that first really dug through the purchase documents that really revealed the fact that Kennedy Wilson owned the site amenities around the property. And so I do know that Tom has broached the issue more than once in many different ways regarding Kennedy Wilson paying for, you know, these things. So that has been discussed. And Tom, I don't know if Tom wants to jump in and kind of talk about what progress you ever made.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So I'll just a bit of history. So when I was on the bag, we went through our first reserve study in a long time, and we did challenge a lot of items in the reserve study, like why are we paying for this? Why is this in the reserve study? We did have successfully negotiate the removal of some items, mostly around the town center. They were having us contribute towards reserves for the town center parking lot. We argued all that and kind of won that battle. We also argued about, and I don't want to stir up a lot of trouble here, but we argued about why we're paying for the swimming pool building. That includes things like the tot lot. I think the argument came around to, and I would agree that we should be paying for the cost to run those facilities. So the pool, the chlorine, the cleaning, all that stuff, we should certainly share on the cost because we use it. The question is when it comes to a major rebuild of something that we don't own, why should we have to do that? And we've argued that, and quite honestly, we lost that battle. So if someone wants to take the battle up again, I don't have the energy, quite honestly, to do it anymore.
Okay, thank you, Tom. So the SA said we have to pay for it? You said we lost the battle. Who did we battle?
Well, I think the fact that
your battle is with the site authority.
Yeah,
your battle is with the site authority.
Yes, the site authority.
Correct.
With
I can't hear you. You can't hear you, Sandy.
The site authority negotiated and signed the ground sublease with Kennedy Wilson that governs this behavior. We, as a community, had zero input into that negotiation and agreement. You are welcome to go to the site authority and protest. Please do.
No, but Sandy, that's what I have you for. You're supposed to be going to the site authority on my behalf.
We have been to the site authority on your behalf and we lost.
We should all be upset and have a problem with the site authority making us pay for somebody else's property.
Patrick, just a minute. We lost on the basis of a legal document that we have no ability to challenge. We are not an HOA board. We do not have legal assistance. We are a group of volunteers. We have done remarkably well over the last few years in getting items in the right columns, reducing the things that we as a community have to pay for exclusively. We have many rounds in this conversation still to go, as you will see as the information about the 32 acres becomes more open and more clearly delineated. This as an issue is frankly not large enough for us. We need to focus on the future and the $230K that we've identified of Cam Rosa billing that we've paid that ought to be paid by in part at least. Well, no, that's the 32 acre share in Tom's estimation. That's the most important fight that we can have right now. So let's focus our attention on the important fights and understand where we've got a legal document we can't break. That's straightforwardly, that's the bottom line.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention briefly on the financial report for the first quarter is that the budgeted amount was $442,867.24. The actual expenses were less than that at $436,276.86. So we have that, and along with that, for your information, that's the operating budget. Regarding the reserves, for the townhouses, wait a minute, for the common area reserves, there was a bill for a replacement of a pool heater, which is considered.
We can't hear you, Jake.
I think he might have froze.
He's frozen. He's perfect. He's not talking anymore. Thank you.
$4,829.
Oh.
Repairs with quality windows and garage door repairs, all per the ground sublease. It was $10,525. So we are working on getting the reserves, the balance of the reserves from the university so that we can put that online. The operating budget, we're ready to put that online for the quarterly, which you had talked about.
Right,
Okay.
right. So what Jake just said is coming up first online for financial. Coming up first online for financial reporting will be the operating numbers. Because of staff shortages in the site authority's office, we do not yet have the closed book closing numbers that we can present to the community on reserves. We will get them as soon as we can. We press regularly to get this data, but we don't have it.
A couple of other things regarding the work orders for the month of September, September. There were 43. There was one electrical, one pest control. There were 23 landscaping. Of those, 11 were completed. Plumbing, there were 2. All of those were actually canceled. There was one painting, and then there was one gate or fence, and then there were others, and the others usually include the garage doors. And so that's basically my report.
What happened with the issue of the COVID extra? Steve told us we were keeping on the reserves.
Well, okay.
It was $60,000 and it was $4,500
For
that spent out of our reserves. Has that been decided?
yes. Yeah, you objected, and the site authority directed us to take it out of the common area reserves. And that was discussed at the BAG meeting, and that was something that the representatives on the BAG were aware of. And this was something that the site authority determined, and we were directed to do that.
And so when there's extra money, do they put the money in the reserves?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah, they did.
How many times has that happened?
2 years ago it happened.
We were basically even last year. 2 years ago, we had a surplus that got put in the common
So
area.
2 years ago is the first time it happened?
That were
I don't know, and I'm just
what I
telling
would
you what I can remember off the top of my head.
What I would offer, Carolyn, is that at this point we can tell whether we actually have a surplus or not, and can justify it.
Well, that's true.
You know, and noted your comment about, you know, any surplus goes back to people, or that if there's a deficit that we send out, you know, per the ground sublease, that we brought that up with them, and we're actively talking about looking for next year. You know, that if there is a deficit, that we per the ground sublease, as you pointed out, a bill would be sent and be expected to be paid in 30 days. So we're looking at all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that we should be mixing reserves. If we have to pay for the reserves, then we should be mixing reserves with expenses. We can get a credit on our CAN fees. We can do anything, but I don't think the reserves should be mixed, because how are you going to make sure you have enough?
Well, we all understand your point. It's just that we all have to understand the limits of our ability to impact implementing your point. And I'm sorry, but the fundamental reality is the site authority, per the ground sublease, has the absolute authority to make these decisions, and we have no authority other than political influence to change their decisions.
I don't agree that they have the authority to break the sublease, but I know that they have been doing it on a regular basis since the inception of the homes.
Absolutely true.
I think the thing that is true is that we can look at the books and we can see what we've got now, which when I came 4 years ago, we could not do. So, in that sense, it's a slow step forward, but it's like, it's progress. I'll give it to you, it's progress, but that we can work together to look at the ground sublease, and say, look, this is what the ground sublease says, and here are the numbers, and make a case for it. Whereas when I first came, you couldn't line things up.
Do we have anyone who's signed up for public comments?
No.
No, is there
Okay.
no one who's,
Well,
Residents with a monthly account.
they're saying, stop the rules focus, stop the madness. And they're also saying, why can't we come to the meetings? Why can't they come to the meeting and
Okay.
For start,
I wanted to comment to Mary. Mary, you can come to the CAM office and look at the monthly reports anytime. We've got it, and I'll print out a copy of it and you can look at it. Because the people on the bag get it regularly. So that is something that the owners have a right to see, and we can make available. We redact personal information and T-code numbers and that kind of thing from the report, but that you can come and look at it. It's available, a hard copy.
and I'm still working to try to get that put back online. It's a work in progress.
I've had my hand up since Kevin spoke.
I'm sorry, we don't see your hand. I apologize. It's Toby. Please go ahead, Toby.
When Kevin first started with the bag report, I had a question. So is it appropriate to ask it now, even though you've gone past that?
Yes, it's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. I went online to the CSU website to review the current year's budget. And I don't see any mention of things like the social committee. And the reason I ask this is, at one point, we were asked if anyone in the neighborhood could make a donation, if anyone could get a generator, if anybody could provide this or provide that. So I was under the impression that the social committee was just putting that together as a group of homeowners who wanted to do something nice. But then it came to the point where someone was saying we don't have any donations for the candy and the gift bags. And another resident told me that they have a $3,000 budget. Can you clarify that for me? What is the social committee's budget? Who authorizes it and where does it come from?
is the budget online somewhere?
It's Jake knows where it's at.
There's a line item that has the I think it's called, in parentheses, HOA contingency. And it's a $10,000 amount. And of that, $3,000 is for the social committee. And $5,000 is for the community garden expansion. And the remaining $2,000 was a kind of a contingency for potential mediation recommendation monies. And so that came from the site authority request.
Okay, so I'm correct. There was no line item in the budget I read that specifically stated that. My question is, what are these funds being spent for? Because I'm having a hard time understanding why I pay CAM fees so that people can go around handing out gift bags.
Good. Okay. The two things. One is some of the candy is given as volunteer, but they put a budget together, and the bag approved the budget, which included the $3,000, and they listed that they were doing various things, including the movie night, and they included the goodie bags, and that was agreed upon.
Okay, the community doesn't know these things, but I assure you they will. And I would like to remind you of an instance when you first came here, Mr. Jake. And that was, we used to have something called Safety Day. And Safety Day had a lot of people from the military and folks that showed up at the park. And your very own company agreed that that could not happen. You couldn't give away things out of a community budget. Yet here you are, and we have a social committee, which many people in the community think is a nice group of people having a social club, and they're handing out goodie bags with CAM money. CAM money can't be used for social activities where some residents benefit and some don't. I object to that. So that's my point, and I'm done with my chat.
Noted. Thank you, Toby.
Is there anything else we need to deal with before we adjourn for property improvement requests?
What about, are we going to have an in-person meeting, or we have an in-person meeting next time? Why can't we? Because we can go anywhere. I'm going to the theater tomorrow with a mask. I mean, people can gather anywhere. Why can't we have a meeting?
I think we need to talk.
There's one other hand up, Mr. McLeod.
I'm backing Ms. Phillips. I mean, there's 4 of you in a room, and you're not really separated by 6 feet. So 3 feet, 6 feet, we could easily meet just like you're meeting. So I agree with Carol.
Let me
we
ask
should definitely hold on. I was speaking, Jake. You interrupted. We should definitely meet. Since you can meet together, we all can meet together.
So everyone in the room has certified that they are vaccinated and agreed to wear a mask.
Okay, I can do that. I can do that.
That would have to be a kind of a basic precondition.
No problem. Done and done.
Now, are you acting as a Ventura County official doing this, or just because you want it the way it is?
Yeah, I don't know who's deciding. We can't have in-person meetings. I don't know, and I'm on the HAC.
Yeah. So let me throw my 2 cents in. I personally would want to make sure anyone that comes into this room, and I don't have any issue with it, can prove they've been vaccinated.
What? You can't ask a private citizen in a public meeting if they're vaccinated or not. You sure you want to go there?
I've been asked I just went to an event a week ago with thousands of people in Las Vegas, and I had to show proof of vaccination.
Was it a
We're
private?
in California,
Was it a private entity or a public
#1.
entity?
#2, you have not been given the authority to ask that.
Oh, I don't. Okay, we're going down a rabbit hole here, but but there. Okay.
So we know your request.
Are you willing to share your vaccine status with us today?
Vaccinated.
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 Yeah, but it's more than just you two. What if 40 people show up?
They can wear a mask. They can wear a mask. They can wear a mask, Tom.
Okay, folks, we hear what you're saying. We
No,
will.
you don't. You're gonna be Zoom next month, dude. Sorry.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's a way to suppress public comment and public input, and you know it. It needs to stop.
No,
We need to be able to
Mary?
meet and talk and share our concerns, because decisions are being made without input. We have right now 11 participants. That's ridiculous. And you guys are moving forward with major decisions and rules. This is unconscionable. It needs to change. We need to have a regular meeting where people can gather and have an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
We hear your input. We're going to proceed to property improvement requests now. The public meeting is adjourned.
Great. Thank you, Sandy. That's just what you did on the rules meeting. You just proceeded forward. Even though we stated our resignations, you went forward. Great job on being consistent. Thank you for being consistent,
So
Sandy.
Mary, we did not see your comments. I didn't see comments from you in that which I had to
Sandy,
respond
I made
to.
comments at the meeting you called at the pool. You still went ahead with the rules. I made multiple comments in the chat. You guys have a responsibility to attend to the chat or disable it. Thank you. Have a great evening.
You want to end it?
Please end it.